Hey, what's up guys? It's Sean with Nolt's Power Equipment. Guys, today we are talking gear drive tractors. We've got a couple of them on the lot and we've actually just traded in a few of them. Not to mention we've got a couple back here that are some project tractors that the guys at the shop have. They like to play around and tinker with these things, and it got my wheels turning. It's an interesting concept of driving a gear drive tractor that, quite honestly, some of us just shy away from because we don't think we know how to do it. But I wanted to go over a principle today, just real quick, the idea of driving a manual transmission. The fact that despite the technology that has changed, despite the clear change in design of these tractors, how they move forward and backwards hasn't really changed much since the time they were first invented. So we're gonna go over manual transmissions and gear drive tractors today, guys. Let's take a look. All right, guys, so we're talking about driving gear drive tractors. So where else to start other than in a car, right? So real quick, again, I mentioned in the intro, the idea behind driving gear drive tractors goes way beyond just the design of the tractor, however many years back these things were made. It all starts with the transmission. The idea of a manual transmission, clutch, flywheel, all that fun stuff is not anything just specific to tractors. It's the same thing that's in your car. So I have known how to drive a manual transmission vehicle for years, but for some reason when it came time to jump onto a gear drive tractor, it seemed foreign to me. So I want to talk to those of you that are out there that already know how to drive a manual transmission. This will all make sense to you here in about 5 minutes whenever we get through all of this. But if you don't know how to drive a manual transmission, that's why I got Mr. Bobby Sampay in the vehicle driving. Bobby is the shop foreman for us here at Nolt's, and the dude is a massive gearhead. So Bobby, for those of us that know how to drive a manual transmission, let's skip some of that for a second. Let's go to the guys that have no idea what they're doing. The idea of a manual transmission, from the nuts and bolts of it, tell me what it is, what does it do, how does it work, and then we'll get into how you make it drive a car.
The whole concept of the manual transmission is just like any other transmission, is to provide usable physical power from your engine to your rear wheels, or in some cases front wheels, so that way it can propel the vehicle forward. Okay, that's really the simple of it. Okay, and how does a manual transmission do that? Like, what are the components of a manual transmission? What do we need in a manual transmission vehicle, whether it's a car, tractor, whatever? What do we need in a manual transmission to go from stop to either forward or backwards? You need a clutch, and then you need the gearbox, and then you need the engine, which is usually the flywheel, to provide contact with the clutch.
So everybody pretty much knows what a clutch is, but even as early or as recent as today, I guess I kind of finally learned what a clutch actually does. So when you're pushing a clutch in either on a manual transmission vehicle or a tractor, what is that doing? Like what's happening?
When you're pushing in the clutch or using the clutch pedal, you're disengaging the gearbox from your engine flywheel or your engine, so you now have it in neutral basically.
Okay, and then so now we've got this random little stick that pokes up out of the middle of our car. That's also a component of a manual transmission, obviously. So what is that thing? What is it doing? How does that play into the deal?
All this does is select the different gears inside your gearbox. The clutch is a different component.
Okay, so the idea is you push the clutch in, it separates the flywheel from the gearbox. From the gearbox, okay. So you push the clutch in, separates the flywheel and the gearbox. I find a gear with my gear selector, which is what the little stick is coming up out of the middle of your car, or as you'll see later on the tractors. I find my gear, I'm in, let's just say first gear, right? So now everybody knows you slowly let off the clutch, you give it a little throttle. What is the science behind that? What's happening there?
Once you release, you're slowly letting off the clutch, and the reason why you don't let it off completely is because the engine is taking the load of having to move that vehicle.
Okay, so now we're in first gear, everything is fully engaged, we're letting completely off the clutch, we are in first gear and we're driving. Boom. And then it's pretty much the same concept from first through whatever gears you've got, and
correct.
It's just different timing and different size of gears that controls how fast you're going, I guess, pretty much, really, right?
Just a different size of gears, because your concept is your engine only has so many available RPMs.
Gotcha.
So there's no one gear that can make it propel a vehicle from 0 miles an hour to your top end.
Right.
The tractors have 15 or sometimes 12 gears or 10 gears. This only has 5.
Okay, so the tractors have 15 or 12 gears, but there's only 4. My gear shifter on my tractor only says 1, 2, 3, 4.
Because you got different ranges.
Gotcha.
You got low, medium, and high range.
Okay, so low, medium, high, so that's 3 options, times your 4 gears. That's where you get in your 12.
Correct.
Is that what I'm picking up on? All right, cool. All right, so if you know how to drive a manual transmission vehicle, then you know how to drive a manual transmission tractor. It's basically the same thing. So we're gonna jump back to the shop. We're gonna jump on a tractor, guys. We've got because here's the cool thing, right? Is this Bobby? What year is this truck? What year is this truck? This is a 2009 truck, right? So this is a 2009 Chevy Colorado. For those of you that have say somebody out there's got a 55 Chevy. If you got a 55 Chevy, hit me up. I want to drive it. But you got a 55 Chevy. Chances are your gear shifter's in a different spot, right? But this is the idea that I want to go over. The point that I want to prove today is that to get a manual transmission from start to either forward or reverse, it's the exact same concept, the exact same science, the exact same process. However, where you find those controls is what's going to change. So in a vehicle, you've got at least the modern vehicles, you've got your gear shifter in the center console. Those of you that have that 55 Chevy, don't call me out if I'm completely off basis here, but I know that there used to be your gear shifter was up on the dash underneath or behind your steering wheel. So same thing with some of these tractors. We've got gear shifters that are off to the right beside the operator station. Some of these older ones have the gear shifters down below between your legs. But the same basic concepts. You've got a clutch, you've got a throttle, you've got a gear selector. And other than that, the science is the same. Once you find where those unique components are and you figure out how to control them, the science is the exact same. So we're headed back to the shop. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Alrighty guys, so in theory now, we know how to drive a gear drive tractor. Well, I guess at least we know how to drive a manual transmission vehicle. But remember, it's the same concept. A manual transmission is going to have the exact same things on it, whether it's in a vehicle or in a tractor. So we've got a flywheel, we've got a clutch, we've got a throttle, we've got the gearbox. So regardless of the make, regardless of the model, regardless of the year, I've got to find on these tractors where those components are, how to control them. So we're going to go through here. I've got a whole array of gear drive tractors, all the way from this garden tractor that one of the guys is souped up a little bit to, we've got an old Kubota that we just traded in. One of the guys back here has a Farmall with a V8 in it, which is insane. We got a Massey Ferguson, all the way up to the brand new 2022 Coyotes. I'm going to show you kind of how the technology has changed a little bit, but the concept is the exact same. I got to press in on the clutch so that it disengages the flywheel and the gearbox. I've got to find my gear, select my gear, slowly let off of the clutch so that once again the flywheel and the gearbox are now connected. We are engaged in that gear, and then I've got the throttle that I can use to either speed up, or if I remove my foot from the throttle, we'll slow down a little bit. Now, another component of this is how to turn these tractors on. It's all going to be a little bit different. That's not the point of the video today, so I'm not going to show you that. Maybe we'll do another video on starting different kinds of tractors. Today, it's just simply the concept of a manual transmission. So, let's see if we can figure this out. Alright guys, so I've never driven this tractor before, so we're going to see if we can figure it out based off the principles that we've learned today. So, we've got our clutch here. I'm going to push in the clutch. So we've now disengaged the flywheel and the gearbox. We've got our gear selector down here. As you can see here, we've got first, second, third, fourth. I'm told that first gear in this tractor is basically useless, so I need to go to second. I'm now in second gear. I've got my throttle over on this side. I'm going to slowly let off my clutch, and in theory we should start going forward. Okay. Again, I said in theory we'll slowly start to go forward. You saw how kind of I lurched forward. I was in second gear instead of first. Had the accelerator pushing me too hard. So let's try that again. We'll put it into second. We'll I'll put it in a second. I'll slowly let off the clutch and just let the throttle alone. Let's see what happens here. And there we go. Alright guys, so I've jumped off of the Cub Cadet garden tractor. We are on to the Kubota. I believe this is a B7100 is what the side of it says. Guys, this is a pretty old tractor, I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of cool. We just traded this in, and actually it's already sold, so if you're interested in it, sorry. But different make, different model, completely different tractor, but it's the same concept. We've got a gear selector, we've got a clutch, we've got a gearbox, we've got a flywheel. I'm gonna turn the thing on, I'm gonna see if I can figure out how to drive it. Again, if the theory is true and it's the same exact thing as all the other tractors, then what I need to do is I need to engage my clutch, which is gonna separate my gearbox and my flywheel. I need to select a gear and then slowly let the clutch off so that it engages the gear and the flywheel, and I'll start moving forward. Let's see if it's any less jerky than the last time. But again, different make, different model, completely different tractor, same concept on a manual transmission. Let's check it out. All right, so we got, again, clutch is on the left side. I got the gear selector here in the middle. This one does have some high, medium, or this one has a high and low range. I'm gonna leave it in the high range just so we have some sort of speed. I'm gonna put it into first gear. I got my throttle over here, and I'm gonna slowly let off my clutch. Let's see if we go forward. A little bit easier to control. So here's an element with this particular tractor that we didn't have on the last one. I've got a throttle lever here on the side of it. One thing you'll notice as you drive these gear drive tractors is if you're fully relying on your foot pedal throttle, if you start going over bumps, you get this like weird jerky lunging motion. So what really helps is if you set your throttle lever to where you want it as far as your RPMs and let that do the work. It really comes into play later. I've noticed it a lot whenever I drive the RXs. I'll show you what I'm talking about when we drive those. But again, same concept. Push the clutch in, find my gear, let it off, use my throttle. Let's jump on another tractor and see if the same thing happens there. Alrighty guys, so now I'm on an old Massey Ferguson. This is one of the project tractors that the guys has here at the shop. Just an old classic. So never driven this thing in my life. Actually, when we moved it out here to park it for the video, it was somebody else that did. So this is literally, you're catching the very first time I've even tried to drive this tractor. But if the principle works, then I should be able to figure it out. I need to find, again, what do I need to find? My throttle, I need to find my clutch, I need to find my gear selector. So this one, I think I do see that it's got some forward and reverse control, so I need to make sure that I go into forward, obviously. I got my gear selector here in the center. Got my clutch, the throttle is up here on the dash. Let's see what happens. All right, so I got my throttle here, I've got my clutch down here, I got my brakes over here, we've got forward selected. I believe in these old ones. Let me see here, is that gonna be first right there? Let's see what happens. Flywheel, gearbox, gear selector, throttle. Figure out how those things work. You can drive any gear drive tractor, guys. We got some more to check out. Alright guys, so this one, I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually kind of excited. This is an old Farmall H that one of the guys has put a V8 in. This thing's pretty sweet, not gonna lie. So again, never driven this tractor before in my life. Let's see if I can figure it out. Alrighty guys, so tractor's on, I got my clutch down, we got our brake over here, we got our throttle up here. I don't know if you can hear me or not because because the thing's so thumping loud. But anyway, first gear is down here. In these older tractors, the reverse is straight up. So first gear, got some throttle. We're gonna slowly let off our clutch. There we go. Alright, so you guys have seen a bunch of old tractors, different makes, different models, different brands. Now let's jump on some brand new Coyotes. Let's see how the technology has evolved. The design has changed, but the concept is the exact same thing as these old tractors, as the old Chevy Colorado, as your Honda Accord. Same concept, just a little bit shiny. Let's check it out. Alright guys, so we have seen what these manual transmissions look like on some of these older tractors. Now I'm sitting on a brand new 2022 Coyote RX 7320. Guys, the technology has come a long way. From the electric or hydraulic clutch button that we've now got on our gear selector, just to the way these engines operate, guys, it's come a long way. But the idea here is that the principle is the same. Now, some of you guys have noticed that the hat's different, the shirt's different, the facial hair is different. We had some weather come up the other day. Didn't finish all of this shooting in one day, so we are a few days later now finishing up this video. But I wanted to jump on the RX, show you guys, again, the difference in the technology that has changed over the years, but how the principle is the same. You push that button and it activates a cylinder down there that pushes apart the gearbox and the flywheel for us. You select your gear, you let go of the button, and it automatically, nice and slowly, puts that back in there so that you are now in gear and you're moving. So we still got the clutch on the floor here that we can still use that as well. But again, technology's changed, but the principle is the same thing. So let's see if we can figure out how to drive this one. Okay, so again, clutch in, select my gear, let off my clutch, nice and slow. Now, one of the nice things with the newer tractors is you'll see that, I mean, that was very smooth, very easy, nothing crazy there. I do have a throttle pedal down here on the floor. I want to show you guys something really quick though with some of these throttle pedals. I talked about it earlier let me see here, that was the Kubota that had the throttle lever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out here onto the driveway, drive around a little bit, show you what I'm talking about with some of this bumpiness. Before I do that though, check this out. I can change the gears with this thing by pushing this button, selecting my gear, letting go, and it automatically switches the gear for me. So let's see if I can get it to do it for me here real quick. And all that is just my foot moving on the throttle pedal. If I were to just use the lever, we're good to go. It's going to maintain my speed, we're good to go. Cool thing though is I can drive this tractor 100% without even using my feet. So I can set my throttle here. Look at this, my feet aren't on my feet. Look at this, my feet aren't touching the thing. With this button on the gear selector, switch up the gears without even using my feet. Again, that button, all that button does is it's programmed to activate a cylinder down there, a hydraulic cylinder that separates the clutch, separates the gearbox and the flywheel for you. There we go. you enjoyed the video on gear drive tractors. I recognize that I probably didn't get every word right. I probably didn't get every mechanically technical theory correct as far as what I said, but the principle is simple. And if I can figure it out, then you can figure it out. Don't shy away from these gear drive tractors just because you think you don't know how to drive them. Some guys would swear by gear drive, some guys would swear by hydrostatic. But it's one of those things that I was a little hesitant to even jump on these at first because I didn't know how to drive them. But I know how to drive a manual car, so if you're like me and you know how to drive a manual transmission vehicle, then you know how to drive a gear drive tractor. Same principles. It's just duplicated from whatever vehicle. A manual transmission is a manual transmission. So guys, thanks for stopping in. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We got some more videos like this coming out soon, so thanks for stopping in. We'll see you soon.